Get ready for the Tech Zone. Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Pacific Time Zone. Add the app to your cell phone. Paul Amadeus Lane Zone. With informative interviews and breakthroughs with CEOs and gurus and who's and reviews. Count on Paul to bring y'all the news. Yeah, he done paid dues and never snoozed, refused to lose and stayed humble and still played by the rules. On the scene since 16, Pop's been Paul's gasoline. Spiritual house have to stay clean. Put the kingdom first, y'all know the routine. In the world, the unclean disaster, it's the vaccine, so quarantine or relive the emphysema epidemic of 1918.
What's going on? Welcome to the Tech Zone. It is I, Paul Amadeus Lane. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We got a fast-packed show with 3 guests. We're going to be joined by the CTA Foundation. We're going to find out if this pandemic is having an impact on their mission and some of the things that they have going on in the tech world. So you don't want to miss that coming up here in this segment of the show. Second segment, we're going to talk about Comic-Con at home. Virtual event. What type of impact did this have on all the great folks who set up booths during San Diego Comic-Con? Now, if you've ever been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like maybe like 2 football fields of exhibitors there. What type of impact did this pandemic have on them? Well, we're going to be joined by a longtime exhibitor at Comic-Con to find out the answer to that question in the era of virtual events. And lastly, we are going to hear an inspirational story from an author out there that I'm sure you do not want to miss it. I know everybody's waiting to hear about the latest on my Facebook account that I got verified and hacked in 24 hours and just the impact that it had on me. I'm going to share that probably on the next show because I'm still undoing the damage right there. It's ridiculous. I'm not happy at that. But please be careful. If someone wants to advertise on your Facebook account, on your YouTube account, on your website that you have no idea who they are, just say no. Reputable business will reach out to you. Don't be greedy like me. All right, let's check in with the CTA Foundation and what they've been up to in this pandemic and have this pandemic slow them down any. I am so excited right now to be joined by one of my great friends, Steve Yule, the Executive Director of the Consumer Technology Foundation. Steve, my brother, how are you, man?
I'm doing awesome, Paul. It's always a pleasure to join you. Thank you for having me back, and I look forward to having a great conversation.
Hey, great to have you with me again. The last time we talked, we were with the amazing KR Lou from Google. We had a blast. I hope she don't get jealous that we don't have her on today. I guess we got to do another 3-way interview again. What do you think?
Hey, we just reach out to her, Skype her right in. We can. I'm always happy to pull my board members in whenever I can.
Sounds good, and I love her to death. She is such a incredible person when it comes to the accessibility movement. Steve, that's one of the things I really wanted to connect with you about today. Was that how the foundation is so integral when it comes to assistive and adaptive technologies, as well as other things. But this pandemic, what has it done to the progress and the growth of all the functions of the foundation?
Yeah, it has definitely been an interesting year. I'll tell you that. One of the things that we've really been working to do is work with all the different grant recipients that we have. So earlier this year, we gave out about $700,000 in grants to nonprofits across the country that are, working directly with either older adults or people with disabilities. We try to spread out pretty equally between those 2 populations and touch different communities around the country as well. But one of the challenges we faced is immediately taking all of these programs and things that have been working in person for years and decades in some cases, and bringing these programs into a more remote virtual environment. So, trying to help all these organizations as they're adapting to this new situation, working to really build a stronger network as well. We've started to do regular Zoom calls with all of our grant recipients. It's a great way for organizations that don't necessarily work together to provide a connection and really start to share, okay, this is what an organization working with the blindness community in Massachusetts is doing versus San Francisco, and then here's what a deaf-blind community organization is doing. Here's what an organization for seniors, kind of across the different disability spectrum. Building that network and sharing best practices, and we've been seeing some great success and new partnerships emerging from that work. But it is a challenge out there. I mean, we're seeing just a greater competition for resources. I mean, a lot of people are really being very generous as they, support causes for COVID response. But there's a lot of organizations that are working in communities on issues like disability, on issues like senior care, that are really struggling to find resources. And so we're trying to have the greatest impact that we can, work with our communities, work with the industry, and really make as a big impact as we can.
And Steve, when we look at just the incredible things that the foundation has done over the years, especially when it comes to the startup competitions, where ones are welcome to CES to showcase all the things that they're able to do, especially in the space. As you look back, and some of those companies right now are kind of like on the front lines when it comes to this COVID fight and offering certain things. Steve, how does that make you feel to know that you and the foundation board members saw something special in some of these companies, that they are now changing the game and shaping the way that the COVID response is shaping up and other things?
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about working with startups like those, is really seeing the innovation. And, we were really excited about these companies even before COVID hit. And now we're looking at how they can help, as many of us are working from home or, needing additional resources to respond. Some of the companies like, Miron, who I believe, came to us through the contest, through you helping to share with your audience, and the work that they're able to do to deliver kind of virtual rehab and other solutions along those lines. We're really excited to see what kind of innovations are being developed, ways that previous groups that we've worked with can adapt their solutions to work with the needs of the communities these days. And then we're getting ready. Not quite ready to launch that competition quite yet for this year, but we're getting ready to do that. And I will certainly be reaching out to you and your audience as we look at what are the new innovations that are going to be out there. I'm also excited for what are the new innovations that are being created now, because we have so many people who are facing challenges right now, whether it is being stuck at home and socially isolated, whether it is finding new ways that they can work. We're going to get people who are going to be coming up with new solutions, and I think that's a great opportunity for us to highlight those solutions, help promote them, and look at what are the things that can be developed, and how can we engage with the communities we're working with. How do we get innovators from the disability community to create some of the new solutions that we'll all be using, get older adults creating solutions, get them involved kind of across the entire spectrum. So I think there's a lot of exciting things happening. We just will pass the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I think now is a great time to have these discussions and really push for those accessible innovations that we're going to have moving forward.
You have said something, Steve, that truly gives us optimism during this time, and that's why I love having you on, because sometimes we look at what's going on, and it is a serious situation that we're dealing with, but there's also some really good things happening, out of this horrible pandemic that we're going through. And Steve, when you look at what all of our mindsets were in January when we hung out at CES. And, we had one particular goal in mind when it comes to tech, or maybe several. But then when this pandemic hit, it just like flipped the script on everything. And we're starting to see just the innovation just explode, and have ones who may have not had an opportunity to really make their impact in the tech world really become, the superheroes during this time. You mentioned as far as working from home and all these other innovations out there. And Steve, is there one out there or something in particular that you look at as a foundation, as a board, and you say, wow, let's maybe switch our focus to here because this looks like this is really going to impact things on another level?
I have a hard time saying there's one. That's kind of asking me to choose my favorite child as a favorite technology. So I really, I'm a geek that loves all kinds of technology. So
I tell you what, Steve, take several, my friend, because I always got more time for you. So you go ahead, take as many as you want. Let's talk about it.
I won't take up too much of your time. There are a few things happening. Actually, one of the things that's happening kind of right now is there's a lot of interesting discussions going on in XR technology. So whether it's virtual reality, augmented reality, and your friend and mine, Larry Goldberg with Verizon Media, is actually hosting a XR access program. So lots of people from across industry and the disability advocacy groups, I know United Spinal's been involved in this, and others are having discussions about how do we make sure accessibility is built into some of these emerging technologies like XR. So definitely some exciting things happening there. But if I had to talk about one topic right now, it's probably going to be telehealth. When we're looking at how do we address, helping people connect to the healthcare that they need, helping them do that when they may be socially isolated, may not be able to get out, and may not want to spend a lot of time sitting in waiting rooms and other locations. I know there's a lot of health practices in place at doctors' offices to help spread people out, keep people safe. But telehealth is really a big part of that discussion. One thing I'll just promote is we're actually getting ready to do a webinar with an organization called Grantmakers in Aging, which represents a number of funders in the aging space. And they're going to do a webinar featuring a couple of our grant recipients, but also Renee Quashie, who is the Vice President for Digital Health at CTA. And he's going to talk about telehealth, what we've seen as far as the emergence of telehealth during COVID, but also, what are we looking at as, hopefully we are getting to a point here sometime soon to get past COVID. What is that going to mean for telehealth as well? So, if any of your people are interested, giaging.org, Grantmakers in Aging, that webinar is going to be on the 30th. So kind of just after this goes live, and I'm sure they'd be happy to have people listen in and participate. But I'm definitely happy to connect Renee in with you. He'd be a great participant on the Tech Zone.
Hey, let's do it, man. What's funny, Steve, is when we had KR Liu on with us back in May, and KR and I joked about the 6 degrees of separation being like you. Steve, we know everybody through you, man. I mean, and Steve, I just want to give you props, man. I mean, you are one of the most, and this is not a word, but I'm going to make it a word today on the show, humblest person I've ever known, man. You just radiate a room when you roll through. The way you connect people, man, and because of you, a lot of us are connected, man. And I just want to say thank you that the work that you do at the foundation and the work that you do to reach out to evangelize and to advocate when it comes to tech, and how some of these underserved technologies are not getting the love that it deserves, and what you're able to do at the foundation, man. I just want to just toot your horn, man. You are an incredible person, and we appreciate all that you do, man. We're keeping us informed and connecting us, my friend.
Well, Paul, that just means an incredible amount to me. So, thank you. And that's really what I enjoy, is really finding finding both the technologies and the people in need and the ways that we can make those connections. And that's really what the CTA Foundation is about. It's, taking the good of the industry and really getting it to the people in need of the technology. So, we're really working to do as much as we can. There's certainly more that I would love to be able to do, and that is, just one of the challenges we face. We're a small team. There's two of us on the foundation, and we're getting as much resources out as we can. CTA is incredibly supportive of the work that we're doing as a foundation, and really, we're trying to partner with the industry, partner with the organizations we support, other partners throughout the community. The number of people who help contribute to our cause. It really, it's a wide world out there that we can bring together and advance these conversations, and it's so important to do.
It sure is, Steve. And is there anything out there that we as the media, we as the tech world can do to help out any area in the fight that you guys are in the foundation, to help out and assist? Please, share with us and let us know.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, you're doing a lot of it, Paul. The fact that you're having these discussions, the fact that you are highlighting the needs that are out there, the technologies that exist to address, yes, accessibility, but also, general needs across the entire population. So, I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing in this space. Certainly if people want to find out more about what we're doing, go to ctafoundation.tech. It's .tech. And what we're doing is all up there. And then just, helping spread the word about the importance of accessibility, but also addressing, ableism and ageism. And, we're seeing the divides that are addressing, are impacting our community kind of across the country right now, and we need to make sure that we can bring people together and address all the various isms and really make a better society with it.
I totally agree. My friend, and what you do with the foundation, the board members, we truly appreciate it. And Steve, I'm hoping and praying that we can get this pandemic under control, because I'm looking forward to being your neighbor at this year's or next year's CES, because that's gonna be pretty awesome, man. The way things are looking, and we can get a hold on this thing, because I think people always talk about we need sports. No, we need technology. We need CES. That's what we need, because technology and what the CTA is able to do impacts every aspect of our life. Sports, health, the way we live, the way we do everything. That's what we need, my friend. And I'm hoping and praying that things look positive so we can hang out again.
I will look forward to it. I always enjoy hanging out with you, and absolutely looking forward to a great CES and an opportunity to highlight some of the innovations that are there, and really hear kind of what you're able to find there as well, because that's actually what I love. Is I get so little time on the show floor to see some of these technologies, so it's going to people like you and saying, okay, you actually got to see a few things. Tell me what's exciting out there. So I look forward to doing that with you, and getting together here soon.
Hey, my friend, you stay safe. Looking forward to catching up with you soon. You and your family. Enjoy this new normal that we have now. You guys are incredible, and keep doing what you're doing, bro.
Absolutely. You too. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to the next conversation here very soon.
We'll do it. Always great catching up with Stephen Ewell, the executive director of the CTA Foundation. He talked about some great events that's happening this week, so if you missed what they were, just replay the interview. I know you say, Paul, won't you tell us? No, there's a method to my madness where I want you to rewind and check it out again. All right. When we get back, in this era of virtual events, what has the impact been on exhibitors who cover different shows or who exhibit at different shows like San Diego Comic-Con. Well, when we get back from our break, we're going to talk to a long-time exhibitor to find out the impact that this pandemic has had on him and his business. Be right back after these messages.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone that can. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.
Tech Zone. Welcome back, Paul Amadeus Lane. Loving the track by my man, Disaster. He hooked it up, spitting bars. You heard it in the intro of the show. Also, shout out for the background, Univ Soul, who did my first two tracks for the Tech Zone before we rebranded. So I wanted to add a little bit of the old with the new. My man Disaster just did his thing. I know he's listening to the podcast right now. Probably got that big old smile on his face. But he's a cool guy. I love that guy. He's like a brother to me. Well, he is a brother to me. All right, so virtual events. We are in the age where we have virtual meetings for work. Long-time events that we used to go to are now virtual. And for the most part, we like them. No, we're able to check out things from the safety of our home. But what has the impact of these events had on exhibitors out there? Well, my next guest is going to talk about this and more. And I'm so happy to have with me right now one of the great minds when it comes to graphic designs. He was a part of the team to help me with my rebranding, and I'm so happy to have him on, John Pellico from Killer Pumpkins. What's going on, my friend? How are you?
Hey, good, Paul. Thank you so much. It's totally a pleasure to be here and be part of your show, the big show here. So thank you for having me on, definitely.
Hey, John. So I got to ask you a personal question before we get started. How do you like your work? How does it look to you in action?
It's funny. I thought I was actually working on it. I mean, when I'm building these, things, it comes up on a screen similar to this, with the exception of an actual video, live video, especially going on. But it suits you just fine with your creativity and the logo that you've designed. And I'm just real happy to be part of it. It looks fantastic, and thank you.
Thank you so much, my friend. Really appreciate you elevating the brand for me. I wanted to have you on, John. I talked about this before I brought you on, was that the economic impact of COVID-19. And for someone like yourself who is a graphics designer who does incredible work, one of your major shows was canceled due to this pandemic, and that's San Diego Comic-Con. You and I both attend that every year for our respective industries that we're in. We know that they try to implement the Comic-Con at home. But before I get into that, just how did this pandemic impact your planning and not being able to be at Comic-Con?
Well, there's preparation before a show like this. Obviously, this is the big show. It's like a 5-6 day ordeal for us. We get there early, set up, and I'm just a 10 by 10 booth. So the big guys, that get there even earlier, and they've got the big trucks that are, and they're building their, booths. It's a little bit different, but nevertheless, it's still for me a lot to prepare inventory before that, the hotels and all of that. I've been doing it for 15 years. They've got a system, or when we pick the hotels, it's a little bit of a lottery. So it's a little stressful sometimes. You never know exactly what you're going to get. But having been doing it for so long, we kind of know what to expect, I guess. So it's not that bad. But it's still part of the process, all the way down to me really preparing inventory, setting up some of my own advertising, and teasers that I send out to my mailing list to my fans, letting them know what's happening and what makes Comic-Con different than another show I might do. So giving maybe some extra specials and something that I could pass on to the people that come and see us at Comic-Con. There's a lot of people that don't know us that we are first introduced by just people passing by the booth. So always setting up something a little different to draw attention, and it's always just a exploration and a discovery. With what I come back with a lot that we've learned and how we would do it again or better.
And John, I'm telling you, before you and I met a few years ago, I think I passed by your booth a number of times, but it's one of those things like I've seen the cool work before, and it's awesome that we're able to chat right now. But we know Comic-Con kind of sprung into action, and they decided to do Comic-Con at home. And even though ones in the entertainment field were able to still get their message across, but what about exhibitors like yourself? Did Comic-Con at home help you any with your business?
Well, it was a challenge for both, mostly Comic-Con, for them to have to, at the last minute, decide and build a virtual representation of this big live show that has so many aspects to being there in person, being in the city and all of that. I mean, we're again, we're a big part of it in our eyes and the way we see it and the results that we get from it. We're a smaller booth, and 10 by 10, and people see us, and we rely upon people that walk by the booth and say, hey, wow, what the hell, what's that? Let me go get a closer look. That not being part of the process any longer makes it, I wouldn't say difficult. Well, it makes it difficult or challenging to try to recreate that, in a virtual site, but it's almost impossible to do so, because when you, what they ended up presenting was kind of pretty much what most people can only do, which is setting up kind of a map and an overall look at what the floor, the exhibitor floor looks like. It's basically their map, and that people can kind of browse around that way. There's so many vendors that it's really difficult to have them all branded, so you have all these logos or whatever. And even if they did, you would kind of look around, but would anybody know me if they've never seen me before by just my logo? I guess in this case, I might have to hope that people would want to be inquisitive and or question, well, what's that? Where you have that better, you have you're more of an advantage, people walking by and actually being able to glimpse inside, just like window shopping. If you can glimpse inside and get an idea of what's going on, and if I have the ability to get that attention by how I set things up, that's great. But we don't have that, so we rely upon the hardcore fans that want to look me up and or the possibility of somebody maybe stumbling upon my booth in a sense of like seeing my logo. But of course, if they already know me, then they could, of course, always go to my website at any given time, at any day or any week. So I think the big guys had a little more an advantage. And of course, some of the products that they have, and sponsorships and allowing them to get, bigger visibility and when you're at the Comic-Con at home. But overall, it's a new world. It's just going to get a lot better, and it's going to get a lot more technology, and it's going to get in there. It's going to make it a little bit better for that being able to be seen kind of thing. At random timing. With when people get there and they're looking around.
Yeah, and John, that kind of brings up a thought in my brain that just popped up, and that could be dangerous at times. And that is when I look at your company, your business, when this pandemic hit, even though you felt the economic impact of it, but because of the way your business is structured and how your clientele is, I don't want to say you were prepared for something like this, but you were able to continue to hit the ground running, especially with your online presence and others and word of mouth out there. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, it was not something that I haven't already been doing. Online presence, the social media, obviously the website. Everyone has a website, but how you perform or how you get yourself out there with other social media is something that we're all pretty used to. It's Comic-Con that wasn't used to all of a sudden having to present themselves. They have a website and everything, but now to present the famous, Comic-Con, convention, and expo is something much newer to them than me. All I can do is do what I've been doing on a technical, online type of presentation, and follow the rules of guidelines that they've given us to work with. Obviously, I'm doing a lot more online advertising or just trying to up our presence, with the knowledge of knowing that we're not going to have Comic-Con or even other shows, at least in the very near future. And even when that happens and we are able to get back to a show, I'm sure it's going to be a lot different as well. So we're going to stick to doing as much, and making our presence as clear as possible online. So I wouldn't say I was off and running, but it was I was not unfamiliar, with it, and so it wasn't so bad, outside of just the obvious, which is physically not being there and working with those, I guess people being able to just kind of walk and accidentally stumbling upon you in such a way that that could only happen in a live, arena where you're there with other people.
And John, speaking of social media, I know you're active on social media. I am too. It was kind of surreal for me this year to see SDCC not really trending like I had in the past, because people would share like pictures from like being at booths like yourself, getting some really cool merchandise, or you would see like members of the media like myself sharing photos of people that we've interviewed, and it just seemed like real surreal experience this year. But I do think that, God forbid this pandemic lasts to this time next year, that if it does, that there are some planning now going in place so that industries like yourself, the media, are still able to take over the media sphere with SDCC trending, because that was just really surreal to me this year. It felt like I was in the Twilight Zone, John.
Yeah, I agree with you. It along with so many other things in life right now, it's just overwhelming, and just when you think you know what's going on, you recognize another aspect of this pandemic, and like what you just said, how it's changed what we're also familiar with. Every night on the news, they're saying something, and they've got their vans down there with, looking to do interviews with just the masses. That it's amazing. And it's, every day that went by during the Comic-Con, my wife and I would reminisce and say, this is what we would be doing right now. And for the most part, it was very bittersweet, because there's so many people that, and fans and friends, and they're like family now. We ask about their kids and their lives. I mean, and they come in to say hello and not necessarily always buy something, but we look forward to seeing them as just as much as they look forward to seeing us, just to talk and catch up and stuff. So, I mean, everything just came to a halt, and not seeing it online as much, with the picture sharing. And we did that. We took lots of pictures. I had my son-in-law going out taking pictures of other booths and just Comic-Con in general. He was very creative with his photography, and we would post pictures like day 1, day 2, and I got so many more people coming to my Facebook page and Instagram to just see the pictures, and yeah, I was branding on my part, but I felt good that I could actually give that, to people. Now, many other people would do the same thing. We had our take on it, and there was always a little bit of me in there too with Killer Pumpkins. But for the most part, I was sharing the whole experience of Comic-Con, and that all came to a screeching halt. And I think I only heard it on the news once, and they mentioned that it was going to be virtual. But a year before and many years before that, it was every night on the news, and the magic was in the air down in Gaslamp Quarter in San Diego. You've been there. That town is like, we almost thought about just going down there and walking the streets, but I almost thought that may not be as nice. I might be going, oh man, what am I doing to myself?
I know that's true. We would, the agony to ourselves, we would be torturing ourselves. And I know what you mean, because my mom would always watch the news and say, I looked for you on the news, I didn't see you. She would always, whatever they talked about Comic-Con, and it was kind of surreal not seeing that this time. And John, really enjoyed your insight about just the Comic-Con experience, Comic-Con at home, and just your thoughts in general. And we hope and pray that next year, John, we are on the floor together, taking pictures, laughing, doing interviews, and people are sharing the cool shots of Killer Pumpkin gear and everything, and all your family there, all of us having fun. That's what we definitely hope for. But before I let you go, is there anything else you'd like to articulate about Killer Pumpkins, about anything in general, my friend?
Well, I'm going to say, I want to say one thing about a company, neighbors of ours, that were right next door to us at Comic-Con, the booth right next to us, and the name of their whole thing is Mega 64, and interesting that we miss seeing those. There's like a bunch of guys that are involved with doing all these kinds of comedy type sketches and things, and they have a much larger presence than even we do, with a lot of the other shows they do and their product and all of that. And what's interesting is that they did their own little kind of virtual expo on this last Saturday before Comic-Con started. And they're on the Comic-Con at home as well, but they also added this little additional thing. And what they did was they did basically a video of like them behind their booth, broadcasting like this podcast to all of their fans, and it looked exactly like the booth that they have at Comic-Con. And I actually stumbled upon it because I got a lot of attention on my Killer Pumpkin site, and I got orders for artwork. It was very unusual that in one day I would get like 7-8 orders. So I did a little investigation, found out they had done a shout out to Killer Pumpkins, and so I found the podcast and watched it, and sure enough, within the first 5 minutes, they went and did this fantastic shout out to Killer Pumpkins and said, oh, these guys we love them, they're our neighbors, the artwork is awesome, you got to check it out. They showed pictures of my galleries, and plus watching this while they're in the booth, that looks just like, made me feel that we were really at Comic-Con this year. It wasn't so bad, you know what I mean? And I wanted to give a shout out to them and Mega 64 for doing that. It made us feel at home, and sure enough, it started off the Comic-Con, virtual Comic-Con perfectly for us. So yeah, Killer Pumpkins is next year is another year. Definitely going to look you up. See, we got kind of more connected between this year and last year. So next year we're going to go out to dinner or something. When we or at least hook up and talk and relax. And come see you, or you can come to see my booth now, and we'll hope for a really, really exciting comeback.
I will be there, my friend. I am so looking forward to it. And John, it's been awesome chatting with you. And do me a favor, I saw something out the corner of my eye. You tell your lovely wife Cindy to come in and say hi to us. She can't walk past and not say hi. Cindy, say hi to everybody.
Hello, hi. How are you?
Awesome. That's John's lovely wife, Cindy. And Cindy, thank you so much for letting me and John play together through the last couple of weeks, getting this project together and everything. Thank you so much. And you guys are amazing.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure meeting you, Paul.
All right.
Thank you, Paul.
Take care.
I do appreciate just you and who you are and what you do. And if there's anything I can do to make it look sharp and tidy, you know who to call.
Absolutely. Oh, I almost forgot. How can ones look tidy and sharp like me with all your great work that you do? How can they get in contact with you again, my friend?
Well, I have two. Killer Pumpkins is my fun personal project, and we are closing in on the season again, and it's killerpumpkins.com. You can probably see a little bit of my logo right here. That's what you look for. And, of course, Pellico and Associates is my graphics. And you could, I don't have a website for that, but you can find me through Killer Pumpkins. And a lot of good people out there refer me. I've been in the business for so long. I don't really advertise, but you can certainly, find me on Facebook at Pellico and Associates, or just John Pellico. And or Killer Pumpkins.
See, John, that's what kind of game you got. You don't even have to advertise, and you're successful. See, when I get younger, John, I want to be just like you. Can I do that?
Well, things like all the good things come in life when you've been doing it for so long, and I can only be. I count my blessings. I'm grateful for it all, and just meeting and knowing people like yourself. You spread the good word, you spread the good everything that we do, and it all comes back to you.
And John, I really appreciate it, my friend. Take care and stay safe, and look forward to chatting with you soon.
I do the same, Paul. You be safe as well, and we'll look forward to speaking with you soon, okay?
Love talking to my man, John Pellico, and giving the shot Cindy a shout out too. She walked past the shot. I had to bring her back so everybody can definitely say hi to her, but enjoy talking with John. John did some incredible things with the rebranding of the show, and there's another John who's helped me out too, John from Ink Park. He's a great guy too, along with Disaster and all these other things. Yeah. All right, when we get back, we're going to hear an inspirational story from an inspirational author who has a personal connection to me. We'll find out right after these messages.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone that can. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone. In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone that can. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.
Welcome back to the Tech Zone, third segment of the show. Stay tuned for Hughes' announcement. Nah, I'm not going to do it. Make you wait till next week. But hey, inspirational stories are few and far between in the media, when it comes to coverage, when it comes to shows. People love watching, hearing, seeing, commenting, tweeting, sharing train wrecks. It's time for us to flip the script on how we do certain things. Not to be led by the crowd. I mean, I remember my parents would always tell me this, that don't follow everybody. If they jump off a cliff, will you too? And unfortunately, there's several people on social media platforms that are jumping off the proverbial cliff. Why? They're tweeting things, they're sharing things. That's causing them to lose their jobs. Let's hear a great story out there, a story of hope, of a person who beat the odds and the effect that this not only had on him, but also the young minds he is able to mold. I am so happy right now to have with me one of my favorite cousins of all time, football coach, great athlete, Coach Deon Tate. Deon, what's going on, cousin? How are you?
I'm great, cousin, man. It's good to hear from you, man. It's been a long time.
I know. And, we always get a chance to see each other on Facebook and everything, but it's just not like how it was when we were growing up, always together. You coming down to Long Beach and hanging out in the hood. Yeah, I know your mother and your father thought they were sending you down to a nice place, right?
Yeah, they did. It was funny. I remember the first time they sent me down there. Oh, we're going to get you out of town for you to go hang out with your cousin in a good neighborhood. It was like, oh, my, they had no clue. We were a couple of blocks from Compton.
Oh yeah, we sure were. And I think you were down there when one of my neighbors broke my arm. Remember that? That was crazy.
Yeah, we were out there. We were playing football.
Yeah. I was like, where did I go? Where did I come? To have my cousin get his arm broke and everything. And that brings back some really good memories. I remember when our Uncle Robert, who just passed away recently, when he came and picked you up and bring you back to Fresno, you guys had a chance to go to Disneyland while I was in the hospital, man.
We went to Disneyland and left you in the hospital.
I said, with family like that, who needs enemies now? But I'm glad you guys had fun, man. I think Uncle Bob went on Space Mountain and almost had a heart attack, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. We were worried. That's right. We were worried about him because when they read the sign about heart conditions, and he was like, I don't know if I should get on this.
Yep, that was so funny. But hey, I wanted to bring you on because you reached a milestone in your career. You are now a published author. The name of your book is More Than a Win: How to Run a Successful High School Football Program. And Deon, I knew just how great of an athlete you were growing up when you went to UNLV and you decided to pursue teaching. I knew you were going to be a coach. So take us through that coach journey to where you're at today, just one of the most successful football programs up in Northern California in Fresno.
Yeah, that journey started like when we were little. I remember like with your younger cousins, like with Marquise and Aaron and Eben, one day we were out and we passed by the Salvation Army and we went in and they had football pads for like 25 cents each for like a helmet and shoulder pads. And I remember we spent, whatever little cash we had, and we went and we bought the football pads. And I remember taking them through football drills out in the front yard. So my love of the game started then, wanting to teach people how to play it, wanting to understand that people, knew the right fundamentals. So I started teaching them because I had been playing youth football and I wanted to pass it on, to my nephews. And so at a young age, I started coaching them and then, of course, went on to play high school ball, played college ball. And what really happened for me is when I got to UNLV, my football career didn't turn out the way I expected it because, living in Las Vegas, wasn't going to class the way I should have, wasn't doing the things. And so football career came to an end because I wasn't serious about school at that point. it never really got a chance to take off. And so coming back home, when I went back to school to finish, I decided at that point I wanted to teach young men how to do it the right way. You know, how to stay out of trouble, keep your grades up, surrounding yourself with the right people. So that's where my love took off. And the coaching, you know, for me, it's not about the wins. It's, you know, it's about developing character. I think that's the thing that I get most out of coaching.
One thing that I really like about your coaching style, you have fun with your kids, man. I remember it was either last year or a year before, you guys were like getting hyped up and everything, jumping around. I was like, that's the Dion I knew growing up. You and I clowning around and having fun. And that reminded me of a time we were younger. And I came to visit you. I think it was around summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you got back from football practice and you showed me your helmet. And
Yeah.
you were like, you know, this helmet has like air in it, but the other helmet didn't. And when used to have the old helmet on, I used to get headaches and things like that. Talk about how you're educating the kids from things that you learned when football was like really, really like to the point where you had to like tough it out a lot and do things, and the coach didn't want to hear nothing. Talk about teaching work ethics to your kids now.
You know, that's one of those things. Now, it's hard because the game has changed so much. You know, when we were younger, when I played in high school and even, you know, youth league, there were certain things that you could do then that are illegal now. You know, the crackback block, for example. You can't crack back on a person who isn't paying attention. So that's one of those things that's been taken out. But the main thing that I can teach is you got to work hard. You got to push yourself. When you feel your body starting to break down, you got to go to that next level. You know, being that I'm at a smaller school, we don't have all the great athletes that they do in bigger schools. So there's where you really got to teach kids, push through it. I know you're hurting. I'm not running you because I don't like you. I'm running you because I want you to get better. So at the end of practice, when we're doing wind sprints, I'm not out there yelling to be a jerk. I'm out there explaining to them why. This is why I have you running all these wind sprints, because in the fourth quarter, your opponent is going to be tired. And I want you to embrace that and attack, you know. So there's always a method to my madness. I teach conditioning as a part of the game. You know, I'm not punishing you. I'm making you better.
And what made you write a book about just the success that you've had and the work ethic? What kind of compelled you to do it? Was it your wife? Was it your family? Was it your kids? What was it?
It was my wife, man. I would not have done that if not for her. The book came about, during this whole pandemic. We decided to get away, so we went to Pismo Beach, and we got a nice suite just overlooking the ocean, just to get away. You know, just sitting around the house, it just wasn't working. And so we were in Pismo, and I was just scrolling through my phone, and I saw a book of a philosophy written by another coach. And I said, oh, I'm going to go on Amazon and I'm going to buy this. And she's just said, why are you going to buy another book from another coach on his philosophy? Don't you have your own? It's like, well, yeah. Well, she said, well, tell me. And so I just started talking to her about it. And so the next day when we were driving back home, we stopped in a Rite Aid. I didn't know what she was doing. She went in and bought a notepad and a pen. And on our drive home, she just started asking me questions and just started jotting things down and saying, you know, this is going to be your book. And so on that entire ride, it took a couple hours to get home. She's asking me questions, and I'm thinking back over the years and the things that I've learned with coaching and the mistakes that I've made and the successes that I've had. And it just formulated into this book. And if it was not for having that strong woman behind me, I would not have done it.
I hear you, bro. I hear you, cousin. It's like in our families, man. We married some strong women, man, to
Yeah, dude.
keep us motivated, keep us going. You know, because I look at mine and the way she keeps me just going in my career and everything, and not letting me get down on myself. And your wife
Mhm.
Carrie, you know, she seems like a very very amazing person. Haven't had an opportunity to meet her face to face yet because of the Rona and all these other things, but I'm looking forward to meeting my cousin too. And when we look at some of the obstacles of putting that book together, Dion, what would you say was a turning point when you were like, I have to finish this. I do not want to give up doing it. Did you reach a point where you were at a crossroads and saying, maybe I'm biting off more than I can chew? You mind sharing that part of the journey with us?
Yeah, I went through that. Who am I? Who am I? Who's going to want to listen to this? Little short dude from Fresno, California. Who's going to want to learn something from me? And so the biggest obstacle in writing this book was me, because I had to get out of my way and realize that maybe people can learn something from me. I had this journey in my life for a reason. And maybe sharing it with someone. A quick little side note: there was a coach that I became friends with on Facebook because of a coaching group that we were in, and he's like in the Midwest somewhere. Well, he even went on Facebook and he shared the link for my book in another state, and I don't even really know this guy except from a few Facebook posts. So it's like, wow, I'm helping somebody that I never met before, and that right there, that helped me to get out of my way, because I'm my own worst enemy, and I had to step out of the way.
And that's really like the cool thing about social media. Social media has a dark side, because I know
Yeah,
sometimes you and I have to put people on blast who are our friends because their thinking is just not where it should be. But this is like the good side of social media, where we can get that encouragement, we can get that love from supporters out there, and
yeah,
especially in your field, Dion. There's not that many African American coaches up north.
no,
So talk about what that means when you may get that look from somebody saying, "What are you doing here, coaching?" How do you deal with that, and how do you prepare your athletes for that too?
that's man. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's an honor for me to be one, well, in the town that I coach, because I coach in a small town, Hanford, which, about 30-40 miles away from Fresno. So I commute every day. I'm the first African American head coach in that town's history. And it's an honor, but I got a lot on my shoulders. One of the things that I remember my first game as a coach, when the referees come up and they ask, who's the head coach? I was walking towards the sideline, and the referees walked right past me and went up to my assistant coaches and were like, who's the head guy? And they all turned around and they said, you just passed him. And the look on that referee's face said it all. I don't. He didn't mean anything by it, but in our area there aren't very many African American coaches, and so instinctively he went towards somebody else. And the look on his face said it all. He was like, "Oh man, I'm embarrassed. I'm so sorry, coach." I'm like, "No problem." It's like, it is what it is. But one of the things I think I'm breaking down barriers, because I got a lot of young kids who may not have had an experience with someone of a different culture like they're having with me. And I believe I'm changing lives, because some of my kids had just graduated. One of my seniors said, man, he's like, all the years I played football, he's like, I've never had a white head coach. He's like, I've always had you. And I didn't think about it like that. And that meant a lot. It's like, wow, here it is. You got this young white kid who's saying he's never had a white coach. He's always had me. That's big, because it's breaking down stereotypes.
Yeah, I mean, that just warms my heart to hear that kind of story, because we hear about all the bad stories out there. See, these are stories that we need to magnify of this type of encounter that you're having with your student athlete, who you've coached for many years. And when you talked about how that referee walked past you, I remember when I first got into the media field. It was an event that I went to. I never went to nobody and said, when I emailed them about interviews, like, "Hi, I'm Paul. I'm in a wheelchair." So they have no idea. So when I come up, they automatically, look away. They'll do this, they'll do that, and I could tell you some stories kind of like yours, man. It's like, no, it's me, and then they're like, oh, but now I'm at a point in my career, like you're at the point in your career, where you have broke down those walls, and now not only do people know you, they respect you. And
Yes.
it's like with me, they know who I am now. They know Paul, the guy in the wheelchair. They know that I get, they understand this now. And that just shows, man, how the responsibility that has been placed on your shoulders and others really shows that when we get into those positions, we have to make sure that our way of dealing could either set us back or it can propel us forward.
Exactly. I've even had referees come up to me, and it meant a lot when an old school ref came up to me and said, you're one of the quality coaches in our area. He's like, you run your program with class. Whenever we're doing one of your games, we don't have to worry about any nonsense going on. I don't let my players talk back to the referees. If a kid gets into, like, in the game of football, things get heated, I pull that kid instantly and I talk to him about his character on the field. And that's one of the things that a lot of, I guess I'm starting to get respect in that, because I run a no nonsense, when it comes to conducting yourself in public. You're wearing the school colors. You're representing something bigger than yourself. Act like it. Like my daddy used to tell me, you're a Tate. When you go out in public, you represent that name well, because if I hear anything in the streets about my last name being drugged through the mud, you're going to have to deal with me. And that's the way I teach my boys. You are bears. And when you're in public, you conduct yourself in a positive manner. And
You can see it, cousin. You can definitely see it, man. That's how we was raised, man.
that's right. We
You know.
come from strong, we
Yeah.
come from a strong bloodline. And parents did not play.
No, because when I went to visit Aunt Vera and Uncle Tate, if I'd act like I had some sense, I was gonna be problems. Then if we went over to Aunt Leona's house, Uncle Robert's house, we'll have some problems. Uncle Al's house and Aunt Della's house, we'll have some problems. Then our older siblings and cousins, Marsha and Karen, would get at me. Everybody,
Exactly.
Kim, Greg. So we would just, it taught us character. And I want to share something with you I've never shared with our side of the family before.
Mhm.
But the reason why I got into broadcasting was a trip that I made up to Fresno, where we picked up your mother at the TV station she was working at.
Okay.
I thought that was just so cool. And when I got older, I was like, I want to be like my Aunt Vera and work in the media field. So that propelled me to take this journey in the media, man. Because of that one trip I took to Fresno, picking up your mom, and here we are together, bro. Here we are together, cousin.
Tell you, thing too, your aunt, she was the first black woman ever hired at Channel 30.
And she was
She was the first.
program director too, right?
Exactly. The first. And I remember at her funeral, we had, like, the newscasters they came and they spoke at her funeral, because she was groundbreaking. Because of her, it opened the doors for a lot of other people. And then when you think about our family legacy, that's what a lot of our parents, they open the doors for people, and we're continuing on, in that same line. We're opening doors for people.
Absolutely. And I tell you, in one of these days, I'll have you back on. We'll talk about how Harris County in Texas was stolen from us. We'll talk. We'll say that. We'll say that for another show, right, Dion?
Yeah, I was actually talking to my wife, man. We were talking about maybe even moving to Marshall, Texas.
Yeah. It's that's where our bloodline is. So, Dion, before I let you go, cousin, anything else about the book? How can ones get the book, and just how this journey has been for you?
Well, the book can be found on Amazon. Like you said, it's titled More Than a Win. It's very easy to go. Just go, look my name up or type in the title. You can find the book. It's a very easy read. It's on Kindle or in paperback. This has just been a crazy journey, Paul. I never thought. Who would have thought when we were young kids out in the front yard at Uncle Robert and Aunt Leona's house, playing football in the front, doing Mean Machine and sticking our arms out. Was that? Who would have thought that all these years later, you would be doing media the way you are, and I'm coaching and write a book. That just tells you it's been a great journey. The book is part of my heart. It's nothing about football philosophy. I'm not talking X's and O's. I'm talking real life, how you build a program of quality, not with the X's and O's. It's about building character in young men. And I believe that's how you create championships, is when you build champions. And so my whole goal is not to win a bunch of games. I want to produce young men that go off and become doctors and lawyers and senators that do it the right way, presidents and, great fathers in the community. That's what I want to produce. And if I produce great young men, we have a better future. That's what this book is about, creating strong young men.
And I encourage anybody, no matter what industry they're in, get this book, because you will learn a lot of life lessons that can build strong character, not only for you, but for your team, whether if you're a CEO, whether if you're a manager. You have to get this book. It's an amazing read, and I can't wait to see you, Dion, so I can get you to scratch your signature on there for me, man. So I can say, this is my big cousin Dion right here.
Man, I miss you, man.
Miss you. Miss you too. Looking forward to seeing you face to face. And until then, we just keep fighting the fight, that we're in right now. It's a very critical time here in the United States for a lot of us. And to see you making groundbreaking strides with this book, it truly gives hope out there to young men and women to see that, hey, I can do it. I can do things. I'm not going to let anyone tell me I can't. And you're living proof of it, cousin, and look forward to chatting with you again.
Man, me too. Love you, cousin. Tell everybody I said, hey.
Love you too, cousin. All right, huge shout out to my cousin, Dion Tate. Man, he and I go way, way back. Dion used to have a jerry curl. His jerry curl was fresh. It was tight. I think I got a picture right here. Do we? If I do, you'll see it on the screen. If not, I'll put it on my social media. But love hearing story. Make sure you check out his book on Amazon. All right, folks, time for us to get out of here. Next show, you're going to notice a little bit different wardrobe that I'm wearing. Let me know if you can spot it out. All right. So until next time, take care, folks. I love you all. And please remember, don't buy into the negative hype out there. Uplift people. Encourage. Virtual hug people, not virtual thug people. All right. I'm out. Take care, folks. Love you guys.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.